Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. We talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm your host, Jeffrey, and subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. Now, week 10 in the NFL season is over, and let's go over all the games and see which one were the biggest results as we get closer and closer to the end of the season. The Carolina Panthers on Thursday night beat the Atlanta Falcons 25-15. Marcus Mariota for the Falcons had 186 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. And PJ Walker had 108 yards and no touchdowns and no picks. But Deontay Foreman had 130 yards and a touchdown on the ground, and that was a big reason why the Panthers got the win. They moved to 3-7, and the Falcons are at 4-6. Now on to Sunday morning, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat the Seattle Seahawks 21-16, and the Bucs are 5-5. The Seahawks are now 6-4. Geno Smith had 275 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had a good game. Tom Brady had 258 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception, but the Buccaneers found a way to get the win. The Minnesota Vikings, who are now 8-1, beat the Buffalo Bills, who are 6-3, 33-30. The Minnesota Vikings have been finding ways to win, and they found a way to win again in overtime. Josh Allen had a costly pick at the end, but Josh Allen for the Bills still had a great game. He had 330 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions, and 84 yards on the ground. And for the Vikings, Kirk Cousins at 357 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. But Dalvin Cook at 119 yards and a touchdown on the ground. And the Vikings are rolling, and they're again finding ways to win, and they're 8-1. The Detroit Lions beat the Chicago Bears 31-30. The Detroit Lions are 3-6, and the Chicago Bears are 3-7. The Detroit Lions are playing better football this year, even though the record doesn't really show it. Jared Goff at 236 yards and a touchdown for the Chicago Bears. Justin Fields at 167 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. And he had 147 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Justin Fields is doing everything he possibly can for the Bears to win, but they're just struggling to find ways to win. The Tennessee Titans, with Ryan Tannehill's return, beat the Denver Broncos 17-10. The Titans are 6-3, and the Broncos are 3-6. Russell Wilson, 286 yards, a touchdown, and interception for the Broncos. And for the Titans, Ryan Tannehill had 255 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Nick Westbrook had 119 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. And that's big for the Titans because they have really struggled to throw the ball, but they were able to get a big win. The Kansas City Chiefs beat the Jacksonville Jaguars 27-17. The Chiefs are 7-2, and the Jaguars are 3-7. Trevor Lawrence is really trying for the Jaguars, but they're just struggling to find ways to win. He had 259 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's playing well. Their defense just could not stop Patrick Mahomes, who had 331 yards passing and 4 touchdowns and interception. And the Chiefs are playing really, really well this season. The Miami Dolphins, who are still perfect when Tua Tagovailoa plays, they beat the Cleveland Browns 39-17. The Dolphins are 7-3. The Browns are 3-6. Jacoby Brissett at 212 yards and a touchdown. And on the Dolphin side, Tua Tagovailoa at 285 yards and 3 touchdowns. And obviously, the trade to get Jeff Wilson at running back really helped. He had 119 yards and a touchdown on the ground. And Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill are both fantastic receivers for the Dolphins, and their offense is really good. Their defense is going to be the key on it, whether the Dolphins are going to go far in the playoff if they make the playoffs. The next game, we have the New York Giants beat the Houston Texans 24-16. The Giants are 7-2, and the Texans are really struggling. They're 1-7-1. They're trying to get things going. They're trying to find ways to win. And they've been kind of competitive. The Texans just cannot get wins. Davis Mills at quarterback for the Texans. He had 319 yards, a touchdown, interception. He played pretty well, but they could not get the win. Still, Daniel Jones at 197 yards and 2 touchdowns. But Saquon Barkley at 152 yards on the ground and a touchdown. So that was a great win for the Giants to move to 7-2. The Pittsburgh Steelers got a much-needed win. They're now 3-6, and they beat the 3-7 New Orleans Saints 20-10. And for the Saints, Andy Dalton at 174 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. And Kenny Pickett had 199 yards. But Najee Harris had 99 yards on the ground, and Kenny Pickett himself rushed for 51 and a touchdown. So the Steelers got the win. The Indianapolis Colts are now 4-5-1, and they beat the Las Vegas Raiders 25-20. And the Colts, they're trying to salvage their season. They've been all over the place. They started out the season really rough, but they've been kind of coming around a little bit. And Matt Ryan, who is now their starting quarterback again at 222 yards and a touchdown, and Jonathan Taylor at 147 yards and a touchdown on the ground. And Matt Ryan rushed for 38 yards and a touchdown as well. And on the Raiders side, Derek Carr had 248 yards and 2 touchdowns, but it was not enough for the Raiders to get the win, and they are really struggling this season. The Green Bay Packers got a much-needed win. They are now 4-6, and they beat the 6-3 Dallas Cowboys 31-28. The Dallas Cowboys should have won this game. They had many chances at the end, but they blew it, and the Packers got the win in overtime with a field goal. Dak Prescott at 365 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. And on the Packers side, Aaron Rodgers at 224 yards and 3 touchdowns. He played really well, and the Packers were able to find a way to get the win. The Arizona Cardinals, who are 4-6, beat the 3-6 Los Angeles Rams 27-17. The Cardinals have had a very up and down season. At times they've played pretty well. At times they've struggled. So they're trying to find their way. Colt McCoy, who was playing quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals in the game instead of Kyler Murray, at 238 yards and a touchdown. And for the Rams, John Wolford played at quarterback instead of Matthew Stafford, out with concussion protocols. He had 212 yards, a touchdown, and interception. But the Rams, after winning the Super Bowl last year without Von Miller and without Odell Beckham, they're really struggling this season. And now without a healthy Matthew Stafford, the Rams are really struggling to find ways to win. The San Francisco 49ers on Sunday Night Football beat the Los Angeles Chargers 22-16. Both teams are now 5-4. Justin Herbert had 196 yards, a touchdown, and interception. But Jimmy G for the 49ers had 240 yards. Jimmy Garoppolo is a really solid quarterback. He had a rushing touchdown as well. But the addition of Christian McCaffrey, and they have obviously Deebo Samuels and a lot of really good receivers. That is why the 49ers are now finding ways to win. They're starting to play better as the season's gone along. And on Monday Night Football, the Washington Commanders knocked off the Philadelphia Eagles, who were undefeated. The Philadelphia Eagles lost their first game of the season. They're now 8-1. The Washington Commanders are now 5-5, and they beat the Eagles 32-21. The Commanders quarterback Taylor Heinicke had 211 yards and interception. He's filling in really well for Carson Wentz, who was out hurt, and Taylor Heinicke was their starting quarterback last year, so he can't play. And on the Eagles side, Jalen Hurts at 175 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. But for the first time this season, the Eagles did not really play very well. They could not get anything really going on offense, and the Eagles finally lose their first game of the season. So those were the results after Week 10 in the NFL season. The playoff race is starting to shake itself out, and it's going to be interesting to see which teams are able to make the playoffs and which teams are going to fall short of the playoffs going down the stretch of the season. Comment down below what you thought about Week 10 in the NFL season and what were your biggest results and takeaways. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below, and I will see you next time.